All right, hello. Monday, New York AM session, silver bullet 10 to 11. We are going to be approaching that. And I was already quick enough to make a little bit of annotations, what I want to focus on. So basically, those radical highs in here were targeted and ran out with this rally up. So since London Open, the price was drawing higher towards the buy side, but now we kind of reset a little bit of that expectation in a sense that we open with a premium opening range gap. We ran the buy side liquidity already 2 times. We left radical lows from the pre-market session here, and these radical lows are technically above the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap. So my attention is somewhere around here as a potential lower draw or potential run lower and draw to those levels here on the downside. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I will be probably trying to use or deal with for the 10 to 11 silver bullet hour. Other than that, I want to take this week a little bit slow because yeah, I'm still like getting back to health. I'm still not 100% there, but yeah, I'm probably like quite better, so that's for sure. But yeah, in terms of the market, in terms of the analysis, I'm a little bit disconnected, I feel like, since last week. So that's kind of what I will have to manage. And that feeling of disconnection makes me a little bit unwilling to place trades right now. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what we get nonetheless. Initially, I'm watching this 9:30 Bessie that was formed here right at the open, and I'll be watching this as a potential for this acting as a bearish inversion for value gap to send us lower towards those lows. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Other than that, we might be seeing a little of bearish value gap being formed around here. So we'll see. So far so good, I would say. Nice drop into this BC, quite deep. I'm watching if we can close below that. Yeah, question would be, do we even need to close below that to use it? But yeah, regardless, this is happening. All of this is happening ahead of the 10 a.m. So I'm not really allowed or in rush to do anything. If it delivers prior to 10 a.m., then yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, Looks heavy and looks like it's going for the relative equal lows here already. Interesting enough. That's somewhat of an opening range type of idea for a trade in here. Send it. Oh, yeah, around 6 minutes left until 10 a.m. So I will just watch and wait. All right, 5 minutes left, but yeah, price is really stretching itself towards the sell side liquidity and potentially the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap. We'll see if we reach below those lows before the 10 a.m. I might be looking for some reversal type of ideas going into the silver bullet, because yeah, already, I mean, obviously, unless I'm proven otherwise, I already don't think we are going to sell off completely today. I don't think the lower objective that I have in my mind is possible for today's trading. Taking into consideration it's Monday and it's no news, and yeah, the current structure. Let's see though, we are aggressively stretching towards the sell side liquidity in form of relative equal lows below specifically the pre-market lows. So that's definitely on the radar, as I was looking for, to be honest, to be my draw for the silver bullet, but it's, yeah, it's already almost delivered, so I might just don't get that at all. Fair enough. Relative equal lows on NQ being stopped into 2. I really like this little area of overlapping of this and this on NQ. This is technically a suspension block, but looking, yeah, like this. So using this low and this high, I mean this low and this high. That's kind of like a beautiful balanced price range right there. That will be, I believe, influential going into the future. We'll see, we'll see. Unless clearly the lows are being attacked. These relative equal highs were poked second time more pronounced, price is rejecting. But I assume that as long as we are not necessarily going to be breaching the consecutive encroachment on a significant basis, then I feel like we will be gravitating higher still. That's kind of what I have in mind right now specifically. So I'll be closely watching whether price will actually reach this consecutive encroachment, and assuming that it will not, then I think upside is the way to go for the remainder of this day, unless we completely lose ground below the consecutive encroachment. Then it might be a different story, but yeah, that obviously remains to be seen. Relatively low sell side taken out right before the 10 a.m. So 1 minute ahead of 10 a.m. the draw liquidity on the downside was already reached and already satisfied. So right now we have a couple of options. Obviously, we can see a retracement, consolidation, or a reversal technically. So I would love to watch and see what will be offered this week here. I want to add that might be a potential inversion for value gap in the future. All right, 10 a.m. started. Why I'm using this week? Because weeks are gaps, and this would be like a gap ahead of taking the sell side liquidity here. So by definition, that might be influential. That might become a high probability inversion per value gap on the other side of things in here. So let's see, but obviously to even think about it, we would like to see a close above it first, and then potentially be using that. Reasonable objective on the upside, this area in here. It was only up, redelivered, but not rebalanced. So we'll see. We still have the potential of reaching into the consecutive encroachment, and that's kind of what I'm trying to measure. If we will or can do that, because if we can't, in my opinion, that's more favored for bullishness for the remainder of the day potentially. But yeah, that kind of remains to be seen. We have a nice week in here on the downside, so I'll measure that. Let's see how a hypothetical order would look like, or could look like. Yeah, I guess something like this would be fair. So entering on this as inversion and using stop loss below consecutive encroachment of this week would be quite fair, with some best case scenario above this rejection block here or something like that. Yeah, So we'll see how it goes though. So far we traded below the lows, sales liquidity. We formed a week, a discount week that was traded into just a little bit and price reacted higher. Failed to reach the consecutive encroachment, which might be potentially bullish for short term. If we fail to go there altogether. That was smooth but disrupted. So right now, all right, so we closed above this week. We closed above this week, so that would be activating the idea here. And let's see, any return to it, I should get filled. And in terms of the management, I got the feel of this position here. The stop loss is below consecutive encroachment of this week. But in terms of the management, I generally don't want to see a closing price below this gap in here. So you can trade down into it, that's acceptable, but we should not close below it. If we do, all right, we close in the lower half. Trading outside of it is permissible, but we need to snap back inside of it. That's how I think, or that's how I see it though. And yeah, now let's see. Because yeah, if we are making a turn around here, I want to see discount sensitivity around this, and I just want to see this act as a potential inversion for value gap. But yeah, at the same time, I don't want to see any close below that, because that would be indicative in potential further weakness, which yeah, I'm not a fan. Close at the low, literally close at the low. So this is kind of like where it would need to react, but yeah, it weaked toward this lower week, not reach the consecutive encroachment yet. So that's kind of like the last chance for it here to turn around. Let's see. All right, consecutive encroachment booked. So this is literally either it's good and it will react higher, or the next candle will stop me out here. Yeah, it stops me out. I guess that's like a fair outcome. That's a very fair outcome for this idea here. So that would basically indicate still a possibility to reach towards the consecutive encroachment, potentially, at least. But yeah. Nonetheless, I will still be interested to see how we continuously trade around here, and I will still study the idea that I went in with initially. A mitigation trade might be applied into this if I will be allowed to get one. You can see that Nasdaq didn't make a lower low here, while ES did. Hello, Mr. Trader P1. All right, another week formed here. We close below the consecutive encroachment right away. SMT on the lows on the short term. Let's see, but yeah, it seems like the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap is still possibly there in the cards. Fair enough, Mr. Yowet. Yeah, price is stretching towards the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap here for ES. Certainly Nasdaq matches the lows now. I feel like this inefficiency in here will be a giga draw on liquidity at some point. Like a strong draw on liquidity. One tick away from the consecutive encroachment. And the consecutive encroachment is being booked right now to the tick. So we'll see what we get after that, basically. Whether any further continuation will be allowed or will be returning back into or inside of this range from this high to some low. And this inefficiency here will be like a strong draw on liquidity, I feel like. Also, majority of the buy side liquidity will be resting above this high in here by itself. So I'll be watching that. And maybe that could frame or formulate a mitigation trade for me. So far the bodies are not even able to touch the consecutive encroachment, which is potentially a little bit more bullish in a sense. Small little inefficiency there. Very, very small though. Now I'm matching those 2 weeks because these are technically like gaps of consecutive encroachments. If you could go above this area, that could act as a measure of support then. But I would like to see price go above it on a closing basis, and then any returns would be considerable. So far they acted as a measure of resistance, and now we are approaching a lower low, another touch into the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap. short-term little lower low here. All right, so now we are breaching the consecutive encroachment, and this is kind of like a key moment, I would say. Key moment for the price to either be able to continue going through that or reject that, right? So far we tapped into it, below it, yes, but on a weak basis only, and the body is closing higher still on the near term, very short term here, right? So I want to watch and study the order flow that's coming around this area. A little bit of a poke below the consecutive encroachment here is like fine, like reasonable to expect. So generally, if it wants to continue, right? If it wants to continue and it will stay heavy, then the most obvious and the logical objective on the downside would be the new week opening up, which is here. So it's not that far away. And that's something to consider for sure. Right, so far we had this long week on the downside, we traded to the consecutive encroachment, and the body is closing nicely higher. So that's nice little discount sensitivity here being shown. Let's see if price can climb above the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap. On a closing basis, we have a potential bullish inversion for value gap here with this volume imbalance. One, two, three lower lows after taking relatively cool lows. and having all of this inefficient range to the upside. Seems quite interesting. So we are climbing higher, climbing above this consecutive encroachment there. Nice measure of displacement. So I'm watching the 1023 if this can actually become a BC, because it's overlapping with the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap, which makes it a high probability PD array by definition of things. So I'm watching that closely, and it does. Drawdown mitigation, smaller position. Well, I used the market order because I was too slow to get it on the limit here. That's where I won it. And it started to run. And that's my attempt to mitigate the drawdown that I incurred with the first position acquired here. Assuming that we made a run on sell side, sales liquidity was being poked 1, 2, 3, 4 times lower. We went below the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap, but couldn't maintain any weakness further below it. Price came back dynamically higher, and now the buy side liquidity rests above this high at 10.04, and we have this imbalance that will be, or could be potentially also acting as a draw for the price on the upside. So this is kind of like the logic. Whatever happens. If I will get stopped out on this one, I'm done for the day. And yeah, now let's see how it will go. That's kind of like the objective. Well, this is kind of like the moment for the price to show a little bit of strength, I would say. I don't think we require to come back to the inefficiency that I initially keyed off of the entry, which is the blue bullish fair value gap. Preferably we don't come back to it, and preferably we start seeking some buy sell liquidity now, as we basically completed the first hour of trading. And yeah, doing this type of movement on Monday after down week like we had yesterday, I mean last week, sorry, in my opinion, it entices a lot of people willing to be short. And that start of this morning session definitely gives some vibes that it's heavy, it's selling off or anything like that. While I'm anticipating that it doesn't necessarily have to be true. So let's see. Obviously, I might be wrong, I might be incorrect. But so far, I like how we pierced above those two consecutive encroachments on a closing basis nicely. And we are approaching the old relative equal lows right now. So ideally, we would snap back above them. Obvious buy sell liquidity above this high. And how far or where could it go above this high? This inefficiency is like the most obvious, easiest draw on the upside that I could imagine. So that's kind of what I'm watching right now. So yeah, Nasdaq is also pushing. I like this inefficiency here for Nasdaq to reach up into. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It definitely has a little bit of room, a little bit of potential, I would say, at this moment. The question is how it delivers, if it delivers. But that's, yeah, I mean, only market can prove or show. How and what it will do. I'm a little bit not content with my entry here. That was close proximity entry, obviously. But I feel like if I hit the limit with two more orders, it would be better or similar to making this close proximity entry with a smaller size position. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. So large down candle here. Let's see if we can recoup that range and send it a little bit higher, because yeah, that would be required if this is all together becoming a little bit more bullish here. That's what I would like to see. To see this down, the series of down close candle here to be overtaken to the upside and eventually act as a bullish order block. So yeah, obviously if we look at the entirety of this range so far, we have this high here and this low here that was already made a little bit jagged and rejected. We reached a discount array in form of the consecutive encroachment of the opening range gap, moved away smoothly away from that into this week here, which acted as an initial premium array right there, but coupled with those relatively cool lows, I still think this is like a suspect reaction here. And we traded into a bullish breaker at this moment here. Low, high, lower, low, last up candle here. That's where we traded. That's where we are reacting off of currently. So yeah, I don't want to have hard feelings for this position anyway. If it will stop me out, I'm done for the day regardless. If I can mitigate the initial loss, that would be nice, but obviously, you know, it's not necessary. I do feel my performance dropped. I do feel that I'm not on my A game recently, so I might do a little bit of changes in the schedule though. We'll see. I might reduce myself to one stream regardless if I trade or not until I don't get better and more confident about my performance, because yeah, I can feel the difference. So yeah, there are some adversities that I need to overcome myself and to continue this series with great deal of professional approach and methodical approach to this process, and don't lose sight of the long-term goal. And yeah, so yeah, looks like we are returning down to it again here, to this 1023 for Valley Gap. Not a huge fan of that. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I'm trying still to use the logic and stuff and be like as competitive as I can, but yeah, I kind of feel some hardships within myself though, which certainly doesn't help, right? It's not like the model doesn't work or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but it's just the operator under some adversities. which happens, right? Let's be real. That happens to everybody. Not everybody talks about it, yeah, I'm honest about how it looks inside. So yeah, we tapped into this fair value gap here with a wick only. The body stayed outside of it. I like that, but also I want to see a measure of run above this short-term high rather quickly. Otherwise, this becomes just ugly price action. So yeah. Yeah, sure, my friend Joet. Thanks for the uh, good advice, nonetheless. I mean, after all, I feel like it all comes down to, I mean, the adversities that I'm going through right now. It all comes down that I feel a little bit tired still, not 100% healthy still, and a little bit like overstimulated, which there is one simple solution to that. Obviously, just take a few days of a break and then come back. And yeah, I'm considering that though, and that's probably like the best decision I could make, instead of just losing more energy and focus on chasing poor setups or poor market conditions, like I feel like I ended up with this one. So yeah. Can I show again my hard time frame analysis? My hard time frame analysis was made on the previous stream. So before the long open session, Silver Bullet, I was going through the idea that I have for this week. So if you would like, then feel free to rewatch that beginning portion of the video. Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. I like having you around, Yoet. You always bring a little bit of positivity regardless of the situation. So I appreciate that for sure. And that's always nice. But yeah, in regards to this trade that I'm in right now, that was like the last, maybe not last chance, but that was like the last chance for this, in my opinion, to actually perform. It failed to even take out this high. Back again at this inefficiency. Seems like it's not going to perform for me. So yeah, it kind of is what it is. I feel like I'll be taking this off manually here and just saving a little bit of mental capital and real capital in case I would get stopped out anyway. And well, that will conclude the Monday's trading for me here. My engagement was unprofitable and resulted in $188.5 of a loss, which obviously isn't ideal and isn't pleasant. Have I been there before? Yes, obviously I was. Can I come back from this? I think so. But I need to step up a little bit and improve my conditions. I feel like otherwise I will be just getting caught many times inside of this poor setups, poor conditions overall. So yeah, I think that's the approach that I'm going to use. Fun fact, I would get stopped out here on the low and it would turn on a dime, so a little bit of a moral victory closing there. But regardless of what it does, I think I'm content for today, and we'll see. I will consider whether I will be there tomorrow or not. Exactly, my friend, exactly. So we'll see. If I will feel very good, I will be back tomorrow. If not, I might take a 1-day break. So that's how it looks like for now. Until then, I wish you guys a pleasant reminder of the day. Be safe, trade safe, and see you guys next time around. So bye.